Destination Africa. This month, the Journal de la Défense takes you deep into the desert to the heart of Opération Barkhane. We'll begin in N'Djamena, where every action is planned. We'll see the important role played by logistics and communications in accomplishing the many missions assigned to the forces of Opération Barkhane. They include the Air Force detachment based in Kosai, with its squadron of Rafales. Then we'll move on to Niger to see the drones in action. They're vital to allow the forces to manage such a vast zone of operations. Finally, we'll travel to Mali to see Opération Piana at work on the ground, a symbol of cooperation with the Malian armed forces. In the heat and the dust, we'll share the day-to-day lives of the men.
Depuis combien de temps il n'y a pas eu d'attaque de bandits dans le coin?
3,000 men spread across 5 states and coordinated by a single command post. Opération Barkhane, launched on the 1st of August 2014, marks a new start for French forces in the Sahel region. Opération Serval, undertaken in Mali from January 2013 to July 2014, was a hammer blow to the terrorist movement. It led to the dismantling of the base of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, the neutralization of 600 terrorists, and the seizure of 200 tons of ammunition. But the threat remains, requiring French forces to adopt a new strategy in order to eradicate the armed terrorist groups definitively. Barkhane is a regional operation, in cooperation with member countries of the G5 Sahel, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger and Chad, and with support from other partner countries in the region, such as Senegal.
What's very specific to Operation Barkhane is its regionalization. That's something completely new for our armed forces. Until now, we'd worked on the following principle: one country, one crisis, one theatre of operations. And for the first time in decades, we now have a single theatre of operations spanning several countries. This regional response comes from the countries themselves. It is they who have decided they need to work together to fight the shared threat they face. The second thing is that the cross-border zones are zones of conflict. Because that's where the terrorists, who have no respect for international borders, take advantage of the fact that they can't be pursued from one state to another to set up grey zones.
To achieve its objectives and definitively eradicate the terrorist threat in the Sahel-Saharan region, Barkhane involves several kinds of missions: lightning raids and constant harassment of armed terrorist groups. Meanwhile, the missions undertaken jointly with the armed forces of the G5 Sahel states and the United Nations forces in Mali, MINUSMA, are designed to restore state armies to their primary role, to guarantee their territorial security. Barkhane covers a zone of operations 9 times larger than France, a vast area the size of Europe. The forces are supplied through 3 ports: Dakar, Abidjan, and Douala, and 2 airports, one in N'Djamena and another in Niamey. To cover the enormous distances involved, land-based and air convoys carry troops and equipment, while forces redeploy from one base to another as needed. To handle its immense size, the area of operations is divided into 2 zones, an east zone and a west zone. There are troops on the ground in N'Djamena and Gao. Barkhane is a joint operation relying on 2 air bases, one in Chad and the other in Niger, at Niamey, where there's also a drone squadron. To ensure complete control of the area of operations, the force is deployed to temporary forward bases in northern Mali, northern Niger, and Chad. We're headed to N'Djamena to see Barkhane's headquarters, the command post. Today, the Kosai camp is the staging point for Barkhane forces stationed in the East Zone. It's also home to the Joint Theatre Command Post, known as the PCIAT, the Operational Nerve Centre.
This is a joint theatre command post. Joint because there are pilots, land-based troops and some naval personnel, even though our area of operations has no sea or coastline nearby. Theatre because it covers Barkhane's entire area of operations across all of the G5 Sahel countries. It's organized with specialist divisions, with everyone bringing their particular expertise to the table. Here we have J2, the division tasked with gathering intelligence on our potential enemies, J3, which devises operations, J4 is responsible for logistics, J5 is responsible for deliberate forward planning. What will happen in the coming months? What are our future operations? J6 handles communications and information systems. The issue here is the same as for logistics. With such a vast area to cover, VHF radios are not enough to ensure communications, so we have to rely on satellite-based comms. We need a link between N'Djamena and the forces in northern Mali. We have computer systems that enable us to communicate via chat 24 hours a day. There are the equivalent of civilian internet chat services, but the ones we use here are militarized, encrypted and secure, allowing us to send and receive information constantly in total security. J7 is the division responsible for analyzing and exploiting operational feedback and handling military liaison with our partners. And you can see them quite deliberately all named together on this sign because none of these divisions can work alone without the others. It's that synergy of expertise that ensures operational efficacy.
The forces involved in Opération Barkhane face distances of thousands of kilometers every day. Logistics and operational support are crucial, particularly in an environment that takes its toll on men and equipment.
I lead a team of 46 maintenance personnel, including 4 Chadians. The equipment we maintain often returns from Sangaris in quite a bad state, obviously. With the climate and the sand, the equipment really comes in a bad state. And here we've got the whole fleet of equipment that's arrived, and we're restoring it, ready to go out on another mission.
Each logistics convoy is an operation in its own right, in which the SEA, or Military Fuel Service, plays an essential role. Having a clear picture of the situation on the ground, following units closely and adapting resources to meet requirements, the Joint Operations Centre needs to be able to respond 24 hours a day. All the information is analysed and pooled to ensure that operations being carried out thousands of kilometres away go smoothly.
The idea for us is to provide a clear picture of what's happening on the ground. We get all the reports from the different units, and with those reports we can relay real-time situation updates, either directly to the General, if there are decisions to be made, or continuously to the Chief of the Operations Centre, who has to stay up to date at all times. My main role is to advise and coordinate the use of air assets in land-based operations. So we meet a requirement of the GTDs, Desert Tactical Groups. Within the GTDs, there are FACs, or Forward Air Controllers, who need air support. The difficulties specific to the Barkhane theatre are the distances. Everything's very long. The pilots carry out particularly dense missions, which requires physiological rest to avoid endangering them. We try to optimize the way we use our air resources so that everyone gets what they need.
Les documents pour la mission aujourd'hui, on a la carte des pétroles, dans laquelle on retrouve tous les éléments de la mission.
With their reconnaissance and air support missions, the fighters of the air detachment play a key role in the actions undertaken by the Barkhane force.
These reconnaissance missions are important as they allow us to see the points of interest, whether it's arms caches or zones where armed terrorist groups assemble, places of special interest for the progress of the entire Barkhane mission. When we're providing support to ground troops, the fact that the people on the ground can hear us certainly deters attacks on our friendly troops as they advance on the enemy. So just the noise we make has a deterrent effect.
The bases at N'Djamena and Niamey house the operation's 2 fighter detachments.
We both provide air support to ground troops. Both the Mirage 2000Ds and the Rafale are capable of doing that. We're different in that the Rafales can also carry out reconnaissance missions, which the Niamey detachment with its Mirage 2000Ds cannot do. However, there are drones at the Niamey base which can carry out the reconnaissance role. So the Niamey and N'Djamena sites complement each other for the purpose of Operation Barkhane.
The Reaper and Harfang drones of the 133 Belfort Squadron, presently based at Niamey, carry out their missions throughout the Barkhane theatre of operations.
It's an aircraft like any other, piloted by personnel from a cockpit via radio, whether it's in view or by satellite. These systems are a means of occupying airspace. You go from a fighter aircraft mission, which on average lasts around 4 hours, to a drone mission, where the drone will be in flight for 24 hours, with approximately 18 hours of useful time on station over the zone. With this real-time surveillance capability, we can carry out the whole spectrum of missions. So there's pre-action intelligence, meaning we prepare operations by conducting surveillance to map out the enemy's habits. There's targeting work, where we surveil a target and its environment in preparation for an airstrike or a special forces intervention. And we also provide support to forces, that is a combat unit or a convoy about to deploy. We'll reconnoiter, scout their route and gather continuous intelligence for the people in the convoy, but also for the operation centers, so they have a bird's eye view of the zone and can anticipate developments.
The Niamey base is a logistical fulcrum with rapidly growing infrastructures. The aim is to be able to process freight and reinforcements as efficiently as possible. Niamey is a land and air transit zone, and all combatants and material deployed to the West Zone pass through it. To reach Gao and the forward bases in northern Mali, the convoys, which are contracted out to local firms, transfer hundreds of tons of equipment. We followed them to Mali, where we found Opération Piana. A joint operation between the Barkhane Force, the Malian Army and MINUSMA, Piana aims to keep up the pressure on armed terrorist groups in the Gourma region. It's also an opportunity for the Malian forces, which are leading the operation, to strengthen their presence and reconnect with the population in this region of Mali. Over a 7-day period, the 200 French soldiers taking part in Opération Piana are tasked with providing support and assistance to the Malian forces.
Whenever we arrived in a village, the Fama would hand out gifts. They had stores of tobacco and dates that they gave to the village leader every time they came to a village as a greeting gesture.
En nous fournissant les renseignements. Donc c'est pourquoi nous sommes là ensemble. Alors pour passer vous voir, prendre contact avec vous et échanger.
Ensuite, on procédait à quelques questions.
Then there were some standard questions.
Si tout se passait bien, s'il n'y avait pas de problème de sécurité.
If everything went well, if there were no security issues, my role was to present the commander of the FAMA unit to assist the population in case anything happened. It was the Malian armed forces they should call in the event of a problem.
En cas de problème.
Today, the particular point is that we have a pole of interest to reconnoiter. It will be swept by an engineer group supporting the FAMA and our personnel. These are points of interest given to us by intelligence and then identified as possible arms caches or other places chosen by the groups we are looking for. For particular points, it can be very random. In a landscape like this, I would think more of trees that are really in the middle of a flat area. So a tree that's much more prominent in the landscape to give terrorists an easy point of reference, even at night. The search didn't find anything today, but I think next time we'll be luckier.
But it's only a matter of time for the engineers, who still have plenty of work to do in this unstable region, where hidden arms are always present. In addition to the search operations, Piana enables the Malian forces to re-establish contact and build trust with the local population to fight the terrorist groups together.
We're supporting the FAMA, meaning we follow their advance and watch their backs, and ensure that the whole operation goes smoothly, so we can come to their assistance if the situation should deteriorate. When we arrive in a village, the Malian armed forces go in first to make contact, because they're the leaders in operations like this. We then follow in a second wave to ensure protection around the village, so we're able to assist them if a problem arises. It's different in every village. In one village, everything might go very well, and there can be a good contact straight from the outset. In other villages, you might have to take it more carefully.
Et vous, 10, sur ordre, vous effectuerez des coups de sonde de part et d'autre, donc toujours autour de...
Donc ce soir, tout l'escadron s'est installé en...
Tonight, the whole squadron is in an FOB, so in quite a clean zone where it's easy to set up. All the combat units are in place around the FOB to secure the zone. We do rotating sentry duty sector by sector. Our unit has the southern sector, and we'll keep a lookout throughout the night for the whole zone. The zone isn't 100% secure. There are personnel and equipment in the center and the chain of command, so we don't want to leave all that unguarded.
Tu appuies la progression de 34. 31, en sûreté arrière. Entre toi et moi, je serai au milieu du convoi. On aura juste derrière moi le génie, nord 11, correct. Et les facs, derrière. Okay. Distance entre chaque véhicule, c'est 50 mètres minimum. On traverse un village, 34, tu rencontres, on resserre le dispositif. Au centre, bravo. À disposition des chefs de route.
Allez, 21, repos, au véhicule.
It's the start of a new day for the EAE, which is continuing its cooperation with the Malian forces. During their patrol, the forward operating base and all its logistical elements set up in a new zone.
Once the reconnaissance is done, I set up my base according to the sensitivity of my vehicles and equipment. Right now, we've got our sensitive equipment right in the center, and I organize protection around the vehicles based on the elements under my command. I personally am in the center with my command vehicle, so I have an overview of the whole FOB and can make decisions and trigger alerts when needed.
While the men check their equipment, the repair team are called on to work on vehicles that have gone out on patrol. But there are some surprises in store. The equipment is taking a pounding, but with the temperature over 40 degrees Celsius, it's the men who are severely tested by the heat.
It's quite a hot afternoon. There's a long drive ahead and no tarmac roads. So it's fairly difficult, fairly tiring for the pilots in the back of the vehicles. They get shaken around quite a bit.
An arduous experience, but quickly rewarded.
When we drive through the villages and see all the children applauding us and waving, and even the adults who wave or applaud or shout, "Français, Français," it shows the guys who went before us have done a good job and the population is happy to see us here.
The day's patrol is coming to an end. It's back to the forward operating base to refuel and take on rations and water.
We organize water and ration reprovisioning according to the length of the operation. So here we're going out with a day's rations per man, including a food ration and 12 liters of water per man per day, and maybe some bread.
Tanks of fresh water allow the soldiers to wash after a long day in the dust. But the shower will have to wait for the mechanics, who need to finish their last repairs to ensure all the vehicles are operational for the next mission. Civilian-military cooperation actions help to strengthen links between the population and the armed forces, who, to win hearts and minds, meet the needs expressed by village leaders.
Merci Barkhane, merci Fama, merci MINUSMA. Voilà. Un de ces jours. Vous appelez même si vous avez problème de crédit.
During these actions, the fight against terrorist groups remains the priority.
We were very happy to see them today, and my pupils too. Like them, I'm very happy, very satisfied to see Barkhane and the FAMA together, with the right collaboration and the right management for the future of Mali.
Mission accomplished for Opération Piana. The men returned to their Gao base for a short rest. In the region, fighting with the terrorist groups continues. Opération Barkhane is just beginning.
It's been a very busy week. We've been constantly moving from village to village, from sector to sector, to control the zone. It's quite exhausting for a good first week in the heat and the sand. We've learned how to navigate in these desert zones, how to improve one or two little things with our vehicles and equipment. Little by little, we're making good progress. We're impatient to get going again when the men and equipment are in shape. A good shower and then we'll be off again.